Welcome to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. I'm Dr. Amy Coopersmith, a doctorate-prepared nurse practitioner, and this show is about empowering you to live a radiant, healthy, and balanced life. I'm very excited to introduce my guests today, doctors Sophia Pierce and Peil, the founders of Inner Balance Chiropractic. Dr. Pierce graduated from Palmer College of Chiropractic. She has been passionate about natural health from a young age and has been driven by the teachings of philosophy, art, and science. Her commitment to providing comprehensive care reflects her belief in the power of natural health and the significance of a whole body approach to well-being. Dr. Peil also graduated from Palmer College of Chiropractic, where he immersed himself in various chiropractic techniques, anatomy, physiology, and the philosophy of chiropractic care. He believes in the body's inherent ability to heal itself when given the right care and support. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
So, what inspired you to enter the field of chiropractic care? I'll start with you.
Yeah. So my parents were always routine chiropractic patients, and so I started going to a chiropractor at a young age, probably 9 or 10, so younger than a lot of people are being introduced to chiropractic. And, I was playing sports growing up, always getting injured. I think that's the classic chiropractic entrance story is, you're an athlete, you get injured, you go see a chiropractor and you feel better. My chiropractor, super, super helpful with kind of showing me the behind the scenes. And I said, hey, this is something I could see doing. I love the science, the physical aspect of it. And she really pushed me to go to Palmer and, never looked back. I'm very appreciative for that experience.
And how great that your parents had that point of view to take you there and not, maybe a more traditional route when you got injured.
Right. Yeah. I think, we're going in a more conservative, holistically driven healthcare, market now. But, back then, early 2000s, I would say it's less so then than it is now. And, to have that foresight to look for alternatives, I think that's something I'm really, really appreciative of.
Very cool. And how about you, Sophia?
So I actually grew up in a chiropractic family, and my uncles were chiropractors and some of their wives were. And I actually didn't really like chiropractic as a kid. They like my memory with it is them coming home and they would like pick me up and crack me, and then I actually didn't really like it, but I'd always been adjusted. My family doctor was pretty conservative, so I think maybe like once or twice a year if we got sick we'd go, but he didn't, like, we weren't there constantly ever. And when I was in high school, like deep down I knew I was going to be a chiropractor, and I don't really have like a crazy injury story and I got revived, nothing like that. But I always had gone, and I tried really hard not to be a chiropractor because I was like, oh, I don't want to copy my family. And I tried to fight it. I actually even was in a pre-physician assistant program to do some sort of neuro or like dermatology or something. But I didn't really see what I wanted to in those programs. I felt like I didn't see healing happening. And people would come in and they'd maybe be a little better. But when I would go and visit my family members, like, it was so upbeat. It was so happy constantly. And honestly, I just ended up in chiropractic school. So
you tried to rebel and do something a little different, and then common sense or your good sense took over. And the cool thing about your profession is you do look at things from a wellness perspective rather than illness, which is so nice.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the goal for every patient. A lot of people come into chiropractors' offices with a specific complaint, but we try to educate the people to come in when they're feeling good, because it's easier to take care of somebody when there's no issue versus if they have a major sciatica issue or a bulging herniated disc. Take care of the problem before it happens if you can. And that's how we try to educate our patients is if you're feeling good, keep the ball rolling. Let's keep going.
Right. So you try to focus more on prevention.
Exactly. Right.
Wonderful. So you also specialize in the torque release technique. What is that?
Yeah. So torque release technique, currently we're the only providers on the east coast of Florida between Jacksonville and Orlando who are advanced proficient in this. Kind of the short and, to the point version of torque release technique is it was founded by Dr. Jay Holder in Miami Beach, Florida. And he had a couple addiction clinics, and he wanted to see if there was a way that he could adjust patients that were the same every time, right? If you're having 5'2" Sophia adjust you by hands or 6 foot me adjust you, you're probably going to get a different result. And
You
so
did it traditionally.
Traditional like manual adjustments and manipulation.
Right.
And so what he wanted to find out was, is there a way that I can do the same adjustment every single time with no changes to it? So, long story short, he developed an instrument and a protocol that looks at how your nervous system fires at any given second of the day, right? Our nervous system changes every single second, every single minute of every single day, right? Being exposed to environmental issues, negative thoughts, or physical traumas, right? Everything is going to have an effect on your nervous system. So the instrument that we use is called an integrator. It looks like an activator if you're familiar with traditional chiropractic. And what we do is we have a protocol that we are going to look at how the brain and the spinal cord connect to the rest of the body. We're not so much worried about how the joints are moving or if the muscles are tight. We're looking at how is the brain connected to the body.
Because the brain's in charge.
Brain is driving the car. Exactly.
Great. So how, you mentioned addictions. How can doing this technique help with addiction?
So Dr. Holder at the time when he was developing the torque release technique, it was actually kind of by accident. He owned an addiction rehab facility, and with Dr. Duncan at the University of Miami School of Medicine, they actually did a randomized double-blind clinical trial, which is like the peak of all research.
Yeah.
And they determined that the people who were the patients in the drug addiction clinics, those who were adjusted with torque release technique had a almost 100% reduction in anxiety and depression symptoms compared to those who were either not adjusted at all or who were adjusted with other methods. So, the research speaks for itself that we're affecting the whole body. We're affecting the brain. We're affecting the spinal cord, and people have an improved state of well-being and human potential. That's what we always say.
So how does that work by doing an adjustment and then having an improvement in mood? Like what pathways are occurring here?
So the specific disease, I guess we would call it, is called reward deficiency syndrome. So this has been, routinely researched and published on, and basically it's an inability for dopamine or serotonin to be released. Okay, that's one way to look at it. We see a lot of compulsive disorders, ADD, ADHD, autism, and they don't get that reward pathway as easily as, some of us who don't have that. And so what this does is it stimulates parts of the brain and the spinal cord to calm down, go into a relaxed state. We call that a parasympathetic state. And it allows for those chemicals in the brain to be released a lot easier.
That's fabulous. And, I know when we met before, addictions are they're so difficult to treat, and it's such a problem for so many people. To have something that you can give them that maybe will help them recover, I think is just outstanding.
Exactly. Yeah, we always say it's the lowest risk, high reward possible thing.
Yeah, it's awesome. And do you find also regular stress, right? We're a stressed out kind of society. Do you feel like it can help with that too?
Yeah. What do you think, Sophia?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same concept where we're supporting those more happy, relaxed hormones responses.
Yeah, we get people who come in all the time and they get adjusted and they say, I just feel better. Like they can't put verbiage to how they feel better because, some of them didn't have physical pain, but they just have more mental clarity, or, they can think straighter. They might just feel lighter. There's no word to put on it, but they just feel better. And that's what we always say. We're improving their state of well-being and their human potential. So if the nervous system is clear, anything is possible.
So if somebody comes in and they're not in pain physically, how do you know where to treat them?
Yeah. So we follow off of the protocol that
Okay.
was designed in the randomized clinical trial. There's actually been 2 that have been done. And we kind of look at where there's the most dural tension. So for those listening who might not know what that is, there's a covering, there's a sheet that's covering our spinal cord and our brain. Those are called our meninges, or maybe our dura mater as our outer covering. And that's basically how our brain anchors into our skull and how our spinal cord anchors inside of our spine. So if there's tension, if there's one side pulling more than is ideal, you're going to have dural tension, is what we call it. So the protocol we use finds those areas, and then with our instrument, we can adjust it and get all the nerves to be flowing a little bit better there.
That is so cool. I love how technology can help with modern medicine and help make us just do our jobs better.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you also do something called auriculotherapy.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. So auriculotherapy, it's kind of a modern day twist on traditional Chinese medicine. It was actually founded by a neurologist, a French neurologist. But we treat primarily inside of the earlobe. So kind of the outer covering of the ear that you can see, kind of like where your the little hole is that goes inside of your ear. We're treating that entire lobe. And so what I always explain to patients is your ear is essentially a computer screen for your entire brain, right? So you're on the computer, you got your mouse, you're clicking on, Google or Facebook or Instagram. Same exact concept for your ear. That's showing every body part, every organ, multiple, neurological points in the ear. And we can treat a lot of different conditions and calm down the nervous system. So what it is specifically is it's a little handheld device, and we find a little point that the patient might have an issue with, and then we would put a little frequency into that area, and it tells the brain to calm down and relax.
Oh, so it's all about getting our brains to relax with different techniques.
Exactly. We're more nervous system based than anything, and so all of our treatments are designed at how can we get the brain to fire more efficiently.
Oh, very cool. So how do you decide which points to target on the ear?
So, this was developed, this is an Eastern medicine kind of concept with the Chinese and, Japanese and Koreans all had their own different play on this. We have different protocols. If somebody comes in with maybe anxiety, we can do some points that will help calm down the nervous system. We're not necessarily curing anything. I want to make that clear. We're just causing the nervous system to calm down and relax. And then the body can self-regulate and heal.
Thyself.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, so you mentioned anxiety. How long does it take before they see results?
So some people will see results right away.
Okay.
Depending on the condition, I always kind of wary on, giving a time frame. But some people see results really, really fast. Some people are in that chronic state where they need a couple treatments before they see results.
And how often do you see them?
Depends on the condition. We could do once a week. We could do twice a week. Kind of depends on what they're presenting with.
So when someone comes in, you do a consult and kind of figure out what's going on and then come up with a plan.
Exactly. We work with them hand in hand. We figure out what works best for them. And then we kind of, troubleshoot together as a team.
Great. Well, I'm going to have you pause for a moment. We are going to pause for a break from our sponsor. I want to do that again. It's the first time I've had to do that. Okay. All right, ready? All right, please hold that thought. We're going to pause for a moment for a commercial break from our sponsor. You're listening to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. I'm Dr. Amy Coopersmith, and my guests today are doctors Sophia Pierce and Nick Peil from Inner Balance Chiropractic. Before the break, we were talking about different techniques that you use in your practice, and you also do functional nutrition. So, Sophia, what is functional nutrition?
So what I do with that in the office is I look at the whole body, and I look at, what someone's eating, what their sleep looks like every night, what their daily activities are. And some people come in with a direct problem. They're like, I've had Hashimoto's for years, or they have issues. Menstrual cycle is a huge emphasis I put on the practice. So I get kind of all different walks of life. And rather than honing in on like, okay, you have Hashimoto's and these are the medications you're taking, here's some supplements we can do that'll help, I actually take that and I look at their sleep, their diet, and I kind of give them tools they can use on a daily basis to promote a better thyroid health. But we also look more downstream. So are there chronic infections that led to it? What were you doing before all of this happened? Does this run in the family? And I try to approach it more from, let's help your whole body. Like, we don't treat conditions, we don't heal conditions, we just support your body to function optimally and naturally.
So Hashimoto's is a huge nuisance in my clinic.
Yeah.
We diagnose it, but then what do we do with it? So what approach can you take to help support that?
So again, it depends if it's, I would say if I like to actually even look at, is there any environmental toxins they're exposed to? Do they have high pesticide levels in their bloodstream? I'll even do some muscle testing. I love neuro-emotional technique, which is muscle testing, but we're actually looking for an emotion that could be stored in the body somewhere that's causing there to be that autoimmune response to the thyroid. So I would say I approach it in a way where I see if there's a root cause that's very obvious. I kind of do a deep dive into their pantry, into their household items, and I'm like, let's get rid of all these exogenous estrogens we have on our shelves. Let's eat whole, clean foods. Making sure that they're getting plenty of sunlight every day and that they're living a healthier lifestyle, so that when we do implement supplementation, their body's going to take it and it will use it more effectively than having to give them like 10 of one supplement because their foundation isn't set.
Yeah, I do find people will come in with a bag of supplements.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, we've got to, hone this down a little bit because I worry about all those things interacting with each other, or at least like negating each other.
Well, absolutely. And that's where I love the social media aspect of promoting natural health. But the issue I've seen is that a lot of patients, they're doing their due diligence, and I'm so proud of them for starting a supplement regimen. And because it is important to supplement because our soil is so depleted and we're missing so much micronutrients, so many minerals. So I appreciate that most of my patients are on supplementation. The issue is there's a lot of talk on social media of people who don't have any health training, and they're promoting all these supplements like, oh, well, if MTHFR is a huge topic of conversation right now, everyone is promoting methylated supplements. What most people don't know is when we supplement with the wrong type of supplement, if we're supplementing with a methylation support, you're going to still continue to have the same symptoms because it's so potent and you don't know how to dose it properly. So what I'll do is I will also muscle test patients with their supplements. And this goes back to applied kinesiology. It goes to traditional Chinese medicine, all reflexology, and using specific points and specific tools to see if their body actually wants the supplement they're taking. And it's really cool because our mentor, Dr. Lockenauer in Port Orange, we both precepted with him. He has been such an awesome guide to show us this and expose us to natural health even further than we thought was possible. And we still go to him and we bring all our supplements and we're like, what can I take this time? And it's just amazing to have that resource to tell you like, hey, this supplement works for you. Even though the serving size is maybe 2 tablets a day, you actually only need 1. Or stuff is reacting negatively with each other. So
well, that's very helpful.
And we always say too, your body is smarter than we are.
Yeah.
Right. We're just stepping on the gas pedal a little bit, right?
Interpreting what the body's saying.
Yeah, exactly. We have the training to interpret and help you guide you in that right direction. But our primary goal is to prime your body to be able to do everything that we're implementing, do something with it. We were talking about supplements. You go on Amazon and you can find thousands of supplements, but they're probably all garbage supplements. And a lot of times now they're fake supplements.
Yeah,
they're
that's
counterfeit.
a huge issue right now.
And it's so underregulated that
Right.
probably one of the things that inspired me to do the podcast is I was constantly getting questions. Oh, what about this supplement? What about this Chinese herb?
Yeah.
Like, unless that was prescribed to you by a practitioner of Chinese medicine, please don't do that.
Right.
Because, these things can be renal toxic, hard on the kidneys. They can be hard on the liver. They're not benign things.
Yeah. And there's interactions with other drugs and other supplements
Exactly.
if you're doing herbal stuff, so, be wary on who you're getting your nutrition advice from. We had a long conversation last night, Sophia and I, be wary on who you're taking nutrition advice from, because it really does matter. It really does matter.
And
There's-
even in our clinic, we have people come in that I read this on the internet, and so what you're doing, and I'm like, okay, let's talk about that.
That's great,
Yeah.
but don't.
Right. So again, social media and all the information out there is wonderful in so many ways, and then sometimes not.
Right.
I will also add in that on Amazon and Walmart, there have been so many photos posted of like a thorn supplement, for example, next to a thorn supplement from the website. It's very minute, but there's small detail changes in it. And when they actually test the product people are buying from Amazon or Walmart, they're finding it's not at all what Thorne has in their products, which is scary. So that's just like why we always tell patients, obviously we love standard process and we can talk about that more, but if you're going to buy supplements from a certain brand, buy it directly from that brand and try to avoid, for convenience purposes, those, I don't know what they're called, like Amazon and Walmart. I think they're like, there's a certain,
Like an affiliate link or something, or
like there's like a ship, they're like considered,
drop shipping.
yeah, like something like that. Yeah.
So are these products, are they counterfeit or are they?
They're counterfeit. Yeah.
Oh my
If you
gosh.
go on social media and probably do like hashtag counterfeit Thorn or something, it's so
Wow.
scary. And I don't work with Thorn, so I can't really speak on if I like their product or not. I do have a lot of patients that like them. They're prenatals. From what I've read on the labels, it looks like a solid one, but it's scary to know that there's women who want a prenatal, and if they're ordering it from Amazon, it's most of the time not what they're getting in the bottle because they counterfeit it. So that's been a huge thing coming up in the natural health
I
world.
wonder what else is in there too.
Oh, I don't want to know.
Yes.
It's probably just the compounds of it. No nutritional value, I'd assume. So, yeah.
So get your supplements from a reliable source.
Right.
So do you really go to do you go to their houses to clean out their cabinets, or
No,
do you?
no, but I'm like, what's in your pantry? And if they tell me like I'll kind of ask them, what brands are you eating? And I love to give alternatives. We do, and we really encourage patients, stay on the outer aisles of the grocery
Right.
store, as we all know. And if you're leaving the grocery store and your cart is full of mostly processed foods, even if you think it's like a great brand, minimal ingredients, we really encourage you to get those whole foods, because even though, yes, our soils are depleted and we're not necessarily getting all the nutrients we would have, over 100 years ago, it is still good to consume those whole foods, because when it goes through those processing treatments and whatnot, the food is being changed. So we have to supplement for that, because you're not getting the full nutrient value from food that's processed.
And it puts your body in a position where it can actually absorb it and do something with it, which is something that, not every supplement is made to do.
Yeah.
So we're almost out of time, but what types of clients would respond best to these unique services that you can provide?
Yeah, I think every patient can get improvement. We typically, because our technique is not widely known by everybody, we typically get people who other chiropractors won't treat. They don't feel safe manually adjusting or manipulating them. So we get a lot of people with fusions. We get a lot of people traumatic brain injuries that they're recovering from, different brain disorders, Parkinson's, any kind of neurological condition, we would feel comfortable treating. Like I said, TRT, torque release technique, is one of the lowest risk, high reward. There's really no contraindication to treating patients with
That's
it.
fantastic to have options for everybody.
Yeah.
And so for our listeners, what is one thing you would encourage them to do today to improve their health?
Movement.
Movement. Yes, my
Movement.
favorite.
Yeah, go outside. I mean, we live in such a stressful world. Turn off the TV, close out your phone, social media, go and just like relax and breathe and let your nervous system calm and be relaxed.
That is good advice. So how do our listeners find out more about you and your practice?
Yeah, so you can find us on social media, Instagram, Facebook at Inner Balance Chiros, INNER Balance Chiros, and then our website, www.innerbalancechiros.com.
Well, great. All right. Thank you again for joining me today. And thanks to our listeners for tuning in to Energize and Revitalize with Dr. Amy. If there are topics you would like to hear about, please send an email to radiantpodcast2025@gmail.com. Check out past episodes on Amethyst Wellness YouTube, and please like and subscribe. I'll be back next Saturday morning at 7:30 with more expert insights and practical strategies to help you live your healthiest, most energized life. Until then, stay healthy, and here's to your best life.